Hey everybody, today I wanted to talk about something that I think is incredibly important, and it's knowing your limitations in gambling. Now, I've said over and over again that I'm not very good dealing with stress. Unfortunately, as much as I talk about betting rationally and looking at data and kind of separating yourself from the emotions of the game or whatever it is that you're betting on or speculating on, I'm very, very prone to that. And so I want to demonstrate that today. And the real purpose of these videos is clearly not to attract viewers because I'm not. I'm shedding subscribers like mad. Don't think that's the way it's supposed to work. But I do want to kind of use this as a journal, kind of document my progress, and hopefully that will allow me to get better, and perhaps one or two of you may get better as well. So I mentioned I want to talk about stress. I haven't talked about this before, but the company that I work for, which is Bang Energy, is going through a transition. I won't go into it very much. You can Google it and you'll figure it out. And recently I was given what's known as a warn letter. And this is one of the few things that government does right. They actually have mandated that you be given notice of impending mass layoffs and job losses. And I got one of these letters. For me, I've dealt with this kind of stuff before, so it's not that stressful, and having some time definitely helps. But it definitely is kind of a blow. I mean, when I moved to Florida, it literally changed my life, and that job changed my life. I should have moved here much earlier. Absolutely love it here. So obviously that was very stressful, and I want to show you the effect it had on my betting because sometimes we don't even realize what these kinds of events can do. And for me, it tends to make me very, I just swing for the fences. And let's see how that worked out for me. Let me show you. This is the $99 betting challenge that I was talking about. Take a look at the profit and loss. This was for July 3rd. This is basically when I found out, or possibly a day after. 74.20 loss in an account, mind you, that had $99 to begin with. Now, I was up quite a bit at this point, had done very, very well in the week preceding, lost 74.20. In the other account that I've told you guys about where I'm betting more exotics and that kind of stuff, check this out. This is the amount wagered, 539, the winnings, 311. So there you're looking at about a $230 loss in a day. And obviously, what does that do when you're already depressed? Just makes it worse. Now, in this case, I don't know if it's a change, an epiphany, who knows? But I just told myself, look, you can't do this. You've got to go back to basics and do what works. And I've noted over and over again with my data approach to the game that I will be a winner at certain thresholds. If I start playing around and just betting any race, you just simply can't win. And I shouldn't say you or, nobody can win, but I do think it's near impossible. You have to choose your spots. And this race regression report that I came up with, I've said before, I think it's the best thing I've ever done. And it does allow me to make those kinds of decisions. And so I decided I am only going to look at races where the horse has a positive race regression rating. As a general rule, those horses are like favorites. They'll win about a third of the time, lose 17%. But that's the big danger when you're dealing with numbers. You look at a horse, and just to throw out a number, he's got a 10 rating. The second horse has a 1 rating. Of course, the tendency is to think that this is a great bet. But if you have the data to say otherwise, it's not a great bet. And I have the data to say otherwise. When I have these, whether it be a big number margin, a big speed advantage, whatever, I know what works and what doesn't. So I got back to basics, have rallied. I think I'm down $10 now since this point. I've made that much up. Some of you who follow me on Facebook also know there have been some flat out. I won't be that strong about it, but yeah, I am going to be that strong about it. Basically, ripoffs in my wagering account. I had one where the race was repriced. Never heard of this before, where after the race is official, they changed the payoffs. And that cost me probably $300, somewhere in that range. And again, to some of you, that might not seem like a lot of money, and it really isn't. But when you look at the amount that I've got in these accounts, it is very, very significant. Just like that $74 loss, which wouldn't be a big deal in most cases. In an account that started with $99, it's a massive deal. So that account, the $99 account, is back up again. I'm not going to give the percentage. My ROI is probably like 1% at this point. It's at 105. So, the ROI is going to be terrible. But I did want to share this because I do think that this is something that certain people, with certain uh, weak attitudes like myself are going to have to face, and you just have to find a way to kind of battle out of that. Stick with what you know, stick with what you're good at. This is one of the big reasons, by the way, when people tell me, like, oh, you got to try Thoroughgraph, or you've got to, look at this or look at that. You got to look at the post break. You got to see what the horses look like. I've heard this a lot. How can you possibly make a bet without knowing what the horses look like? Because I don't know what it means. I mean, for the longest time, I thought every horse was limping. I can't spot a lead change to save my life. And I've been watching races for, 30 years. So why would I incorporate something that I'm not good at? Too many people do this. Stick to what you know. I've told this story before. I'll tell it again. I work for a financial newsletter, and we would have these meetings every Monday, and people would talk about general market conditions. And I found it to be the most pointless and absurd thing that anybody could do. They would talk about the conditions in China. Oh, you see what's happening in China here. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. How does it affect IBM? How does it affect Apple? How does it affect any stock that you own? And if you just say, well, because, China does this and they're involved in the U.S. financial markets, blah, 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 that doesn't tell me anything. We need to deal in specifics. Is it going to hurt it by 5%? Is the stock going to go down by 10%? Things like that matter. But if you can't quantify it, it's silly to try to contemplate it. Likewise, looking back at races that you missed, I had a Facebook friend of mine do this yesterday. I missed the race, he missed the race, and then he's going back and, I should have had this horse. He shows this and this and this. Look, if you have a methodology that wins, doing this every time you lose is kind of pointless. I saw a race, I think it was sometime last week, where it was like a 60-1 shot that won. There was literally nothing I liked about the horse. And if I spend all my time trying to pursue that horse, I'm going to lose. And by the way, you can do this through regression analysis and other mathematical means. You can look for those horses and you'll probably hit them, and you're going to miss a ton of others. Anyway, I've spent enough time on that. Let's talk a little bit about a race today that I found very interesting, and that is the 5th race at Belmont. This is the Suburban Handicap. It's a grade 2 affair. Hopefully you guys can see the screen here. And the reason I find it interesting is that you have a 3-5 favorite in Charge It. And look, the horse is likely to win. He's definitely the best horse. There's really no argument about that. And that's why I wanted to talk about this race, because so many people talk about finding the best team or the best horse. And I've said over and over again, in betting, that really isn't the goal. It's trying to find some value. And I just question whether Charge It offers any value. Here's what bothers me. Now, he is very, very well bred based on the numbers that I look at, the Brisnet. They have their own breeding ratings and so forth. He's very well bred to go a distance. And if you look at like other things like the average winning distance and so forth, looks good. But look at these LSRs. These are not good. They're not bad, mind you. That's kind of what the yellow means. They're just in that average range. Here's one that's a -1. This is very, very good. But you notice that was his second start of his career, and it featured a very slow pace, and he led. He hasn't been doing that recently. He could get the lead in this spot, but I don't know if that's his running style. The thing I like about him, and it seems weird to say this, but he does seem kind of like a plotter. And I said it seems weird because check out this Dwyer. I mean, that's a sensational effort. And you notice he met today's race par, a 103 par speed figure. He did run a 100 par speed figure last time. But see, that's the other thing that is troublesome here. This is a grade 2. This horse was second in a grade 1. He ran in the Met Mile, which is possibly the most prestigious grade 1 race, outside of the Kentucky Derby and some of the Breeders' Cup races. He finishes 4th in that race. That's a flat mile. Now we're going 10 furlongs. And like I said, I don't know if he has a tactical advantage because I don't know if he's going to lead. When I'm dealing with the 3-5 favorite, and I've said this over and over again, I want a horse that just knocks me out. He's got the best speed, he's got the best pace figures, he's just, a string of advantages. I don't see that with charging. So I was looking to try to beat him, and I'm going to kind of go through some horses and kind of my thought process. This, by the way, is a low probability event for me. I will bet this race, but I'm not real excited about it. I don't think there's a lot of value. If there's a negative show pool, absolutely, but I don't think that's going to happen either. So the second favorite in here, probably the most logical upsetter, is Tonal Impact. This is a Linda Rice horse. Jose Ortiz is riding. Notice last time he won impressively, -2 LSR. That's very, very good. Here's the problem. You take away this race, and what are you left with? You basically have an optional claimer. This guy has not been facing near the competition that Charge It has. And if you look at these other figures, the LSRs are generally pretty good. You do have some average ones, but you got a lot of green here too. And green, of course, corresponds to good LSRs or late speed rations. But again, there's nothing really compelling here, and you're going to take a short price because you've got Linda Rice, you've got Ortiz, and you've got that great last race. When you look at the rest of this field, you have Red Run. He's running a couple 12 furlong races, not bad, but you notice very light in terms of the bar speed figures. I want to go to Unbridled Bomber next. This guy ran a very good race here. This is interesting to me, but the last race not so good. And again, if you look overall, the figures aren't great. He is 4, so there is some upside. There was a study done by, I forget the guy's name, so I won't give it, but it was done on ages, and it was determined that the peak age for thoroughbreds is about 4.5. So that's when they are at their peak in terms of running. They actually looked at the buyer speed figures, so that's when they run their fastest speed figures. Starts to go down after that, and there's a fairly quick ascension up to 4.5. That's why you see that big improvement from 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 and so forth. So he's got that going for him, where some of these are older contenders. The one that I am going to bet on, like I said, not very much, but Clapton. And the reason I say that is, first of all, this horse is well bred for the distance. He ran in the Pimlico Special last time, a 94. His speed figures also are not great, but they're a little bit better. And this could be a race. This, for a grade 2 race, is incredibly weak. And so this is a guy that I think might improve on the distance. And I really like that last workout too. He looks sharp. So really what this was is just a pick by elimination. I just don't like a lot of horses in here. And if you like Charge It, and if you think Charge It is a lock, I don't want to talk you off that, because he definitely is the best horse. But like I said, I just don't, I'm not wowed by him. And I would kind of like to be if he's going to be 3 to 5. So price will obviously play a big part if he's odds on. And because of the strength or lack thereof of this field, I think Charge It could be a massive favorite. But anyway, that's the way I see the race. I think it's a great card at Belmont today. And in fact, I got a lot more handicapping to do, so I will leave it at that. If you do like this kind of content, please like the video and subscribe. If you don't, well, you've already spoken pretty loudly, so I get it. I get it. Anyway, I hope you all have a great wagering day, and I'll talk to you soon.